Thank you, Madam Mayor. Um, no one should be discriminated against because of the color of his or her skin. Such discrimination affronts the very spirit of America. And it is the United States of America that is the greatest country ever founded by mankind. And because it was founded by man and not God, it is imperfect. Its flaws, however, do not render its promise impossible. The United States of America is the greatest country ever founded because it stands for the principles that all people are created equal, and our rights, most significantly among them, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, come from God and not a king. Because government does not give us these rights, it has no right whatsoever to take them away without due process. Not from you, not from me, and not from George Floyd. The United States is also the greatest country ever founded because it comes closest of any nation ever to include the entire beautiful mosaic of all humanity within its citizenry. Every single race and creed is a fellow American, and I believe all of us are created in the image of God. We all can and do call America home. We Americans are a good people. That is why, in recent years alone, millions of people from around the world have immigrated here, hoping to become Americans. Black Americans, in particular, have contributed so meaningfully to America that it would take hours to discuss that subject alone. Black Americans have enriched our community, our nation, and the world. From Frederick Douglass to President Barack Obama, from Justice Clarence Thomas to Maya Angelou, from Jesse Owens to Oprah Winfrey, and from Thomas Sowell to Aretha Franklin, Black Americans have touched and helped shape all aspects of America and American life. As Board of Education member Dr. Lorna Thomas Farquharson said in the recent Juneteenth ceremony, Black history is American history. But as recent events have highlighted, we in America have for far too long seen our Black neighbors and friends confront injustices that should not exist. First, without exception, Black lives matter. Black lives matter, Black lives matter, Black lives matter. All decent people believe this truth. It is time to confront those policies which threaten this truth. To do this effectively, America must first have clarity as to the mission, which should be to protect Black lives and ensure that they have equal treatment under the law. Our community and our nation must be wary of those groups who attempt to use the unequivocal truth that Black lives matter for their own political purposes. Anarchists, masquerading as protesters, destroy businesses, many Black-owned, destroy monuments of our first president, and commit violence against any who stand in their way, even killing them in some instances. Political leaders who shamelessly call to defund or abolish the police in a naked attempt to garner votes in a time of crisis. Yes, there are some police who abuse their power. Yes, we should look at police reform. But the officer who killed George Floyd should be condemned, and he has been by all reasonable people. We must acknowledge, however, that the vast, overwhelming majority of police are exceptional. They put their lives on the line each and every day. They should be honored and respected for their sacrifice, not denounced and defunded. The voices of violence and anarchy sadly seek chaos instead of an answer. Our society needs to do the opposite. We need to take a sober and objective look at policies which adversely impact and oppress Black lives, and in many cases have done so for decades. First, every single child should have the option to go to a good school. But Black Americans in the dawn of life are way too often told by their elected officials that they must attend a local and oftentimes failing school. This is indefensible. Imagine being that parent, being told by your government that your child must go to a failing school, or if they're lucky, they're put in a lottery to go to some other school solely based on their zip code. It's outrageous. If a parent wants to send them to another school, they should be able to if they choose. Americans should have school choice, and until they do, inequities in education and outcomes will persist. We need to know how every single one of our leaders feels about this issue. If they do not support school choice, they should absolutely be voted out of office. In my view, any leader who does not support school choice is putting some other priority in front of black lives. And as I said, Black Lives Matter. Second, policing. At the outset, West Hartford has a remarkable police force. There is absolutely zero evidence of racial bias by our police. That said, we know that there are police forces that have reputations of egregious abuses against Black citizens. Who is running those police departments in cities? The same people in political party for decades and decades. Want change? Vote them out. Every single one of them. They've had ample opportunity to fix things, and they have failed. Remember, we only know about George Floyd's treatment because a camera was running, as Ms. Blank said. The police policies of these cities follow the lead of their local elected leaders. Look them up, find out who they are, what their political party is, and work to remove them. Third, housing. Black Americans are disproportionately caused to live in higher crime urban neighborhoods than other Americans. You know how you can help fix that? Make other neighborhoods more affordable. Make it possible for more Black Americans to move into a different neighborhood if they so choose. The truth is that the state and its unfunded union obligations, unsustainable union contracts, and laws that protect those unions make it extremely expensive. The cost is compounded in a place like West Hartford, which has enormous union obligations itself. Both state and local unions are getting raises this year during this time of historic economic suffering that tells you everything you need to know. Unless and until our leaders put our people first, we're going to continue to see what can only be described as soft segregation. Who has run this state for decades? Who has made it unaffordable? Look them up, their party affiliation, and vote them out. The bottom line is that the government has meddled for years and done little. Under the auspice of helping, policies have done little to help Black Americans. In fact, I believe the government has done the opposite. It's time for the government to get out of the way and allow for opportunity, pro-jobs, pro-investment to take root. Here's my point. How long have we lived under the Chef decision? How long has the state had the tool of affordable, subsidized housing? Has there been any meaningful improvement in outcome and experience for Black Americans? Not enough. Money and the same tired policies won't change that. But I think freedom of choice, freedom to choose a school, freedom brought by economic opportunity is the answer. And barriers to that freedom should be removed. And the politicians and political parties who erect those barriers should absolutely be defeated and removed. Also, I just want to note that many of the leaders we hear from today proclaiming Black Lives Matter have been in office for decades. They haven't done enough. It's an election year. They blame others for the issues facing us today and take zero responsibility. Instead, they shallowly signal their virtue through mere words. They are hypocrites of the worst sort, and they should be rejected by voters. Finally, with respect to this resolution, it contains words. It was sent to us on Friday morning. The whereas clauses make various assertions. I do not know the extent of the research which underlies the conclusions set forth in these whereas clauses, if there was any done, or the sources of the information. And that's because, once again, we have a resolution just dropped on us by the majority party without thoughtful discussion beforehand. All that said, the purpose of this resolution appears to be to denounce racism, and I do, so I will support it. Regardless, this resolution is yet another resolution in now what has become a pattern of resolutions for this town council, which are designed to make us look good but don't have the effect of law. It's gratuitous, and in my view, Black Americans have been given nothing but words for decades from their leaders, empty promises. This resolution is not enough. Political positioning is not enough. The majority party in this council needs to demand publicly that its state legislators, all of the same political party, take action. Take down the barriers. Black Americans should have school choice. They should not be subject to police policies which violate their God-given rights, and they should, like all Americans, have the opportunities to raise their families in a safe and affordable society. Black lives matter. Now is the time to get rid of those politicians and policies that don't honor that truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. So I want to say thank you to, I